Hello folks, Pastor Rocky Branch. Hope you're doing great today. Well, as you can see, I'm back in the office, but it looks a little bare back there behind me. As many of you already know, we're moving. We are moving back to Spruce Pine, where Janice and I grew up. Now, the challenges of this is great in many ways because we love where we are. We don't want to move, but in the ministry, it's different than most folks. I envy, in fact, some of you that you have your home and you don't have to worry about moving and you've got everything locked in and you're comfortable there, and that's a great thing to have. But in the ministry, it's entirely different. If you are sold out to the Lord, then you don't have an opportunity to make the choice that where you want to go. That's not on the table. Sometimes when you try to pick and choose and say, well, I'll do this or that, well, we're getting away from what God's talking about then, because sacrifice and willingness are very important elements of the ministry. Is it hard? Well, absolutely. We're going back to a place where we grew up. And one of the things about that that's challenging is that everybody knows you. Well, most everyone. We've been gone 27 years from the city that we're moving back to. We know a lot of people there. And we've been blessed over these years. I've been preaching 34 years. And I preached the first several years there in the county. In the adjacent county for one part of it, then another county. And then, God is moving in different ways. And one of the ways that he moves ministers is that, well, you just don't have any place you can nail your hat down. Well, if you do, then there may be a consideration of whether you're committed or not, because as many times I've said to people, I could be in Zimbabwe in a month just simply because we're going to do what God says. Do I want to do it? Well, no. I don't like to move. I don't like to change. Church stuff, I think you have to change in because you're growing and you should grow, but I just don't physically like to move. It's just one of those things I don't like to do. I did that a lot when I was a kid, and I just don't like to do it. But here's the point. You need to be ready, willing, and able to do what God has called you to do. Now, everybody's not a minister, quite obviously, and everybody doesn't have to worry about moving. We move to a spot, stay 4 or 5 years, 10 years, 14 years, like we were in Florida. Well, then you are called somewhere else. These are the challenging times of commitment. Now, let me just say this to you first of all. Janice, my wife, Maggie, I call her Maggie, is one of the most wonderful people that I can express to you. Her willingness to do whatever, it doesn't matter. She always has been that way. She's always been willing to say, wherever you believe God is leading us, I'm ready to go. I don't want to go primarily. She's liked places different than other places, but she's always been willing to go. My desire, my heart's desire, no matter what anybody thinks, says, believes, gossips, rumors, whatever, I don't care. My heart's desire is to do the will of God. That's what I want to do. My heart's desire is to preach the word. And whether God does it in Charlotte, whether he does it in Spruce Pine, whether he does it in Florida, whether he does it in Detroit, I don't care. I have preferences, quite obviously. But as far as the bottom line goes, I don't care. Now, the commitment effort that we must have to serve the Lord is very important. Not ministry-wise now, as far as what I do, not preacher-wise. Let's move away from that now. It's obvious that I'm moving. It's obvious. And by the way, the videos will still keep coming, so don't worry about that. If you are worried about that, we'll still do those every day, so don't worry about that. My point being, however, is that as a Christian, you have to be willing daily to do what the Lord asks you to do. And most of the time, it's going to put you out of your comfort zone. Not all the time, but a lot of times. It's going to put you in a situation where you're going to have to really, really, really consider, do I want to do God's will or do I want to do my will? Well, when you have plans and you're trying to accomplish certain things, and then God comes in and says, I need you to do this right now. There's a reason for that. The reason for that often is that somebody on the other end of that line needs you critically. Let me tell you, people are waiting. They are desiring people to talk to. We're in a troubled world, beloved, and we need to be people that witness, not caught up all the time in what we got going on, because that's easy to do. You can get caught up in your health, you can get caught up in your family, you can get caught up in your house and your career. You can get caught up in all sorts of stuff, and before you know it, one day's passed, second day passed, third day passed, fourth day passed, a week is gone. You've done no ministry work because you've been caught up with you. And I understand that you have got to do what you've got to do. I've got to do what I've got to do. But people, that's eternal stuff. So be ready to answer the call when God says, hey, call this person or speak to that person. Now make sure you're spirit led. That means that you study to show yourself approved. That means that you pray. You don't have a botched up line between you and God. You're keeping it open. You don't have any hidden sins back there somewhere that you're trying to cover up and you're trying to get by everybody. Just do the right thing. Well, and God will bless you for that. The challenges that we have is that things change in life, and they change for all of us. But our responsibilities are that we do what the Father says because He knows best. It's not always comfortable. It's not always pleasant. It's not always something you look forward to. But when you know that the Father says do it and you do it, there's a sense of comfort there that nobody else can give you. Let me encourage you today to consider this question. This question today: what would the Father have me to do? And I hope you've prefaced that already this morning by prayer and Bible study, that you have given a devotion unto the Lord, that you might be blessed and be a blessing to other people, because you're going to be around people today that need, listen to me, you're going to be around people today that need the supernatural wisdom of God, of which you can provide. So make yourself available. You may not have to move like we do. We've moved several times, and I'm not crazy about that, but that's a different issue. But the willingness is the same issue. You have to be willing, maybe not to, you don't have to move, worry about that, but you have to be willing to witness, be willing to do what God's called you to do, and if you do that, well, God will bless you for it. God bless you. We love you, and goodbye.